Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to the Fragrance Well. So if you ever been on any of these fragrance Facebook groups and ever seen anybody ask this particular question, is it worth it at such and such price? This always blows my mind. That is not a concept I can truly understand because in my mind, only you can determine if something is worth the price. You are asking literal strangers to help you make a financial purchase. That doesn't make any sense. And these people don't know what your financial situation is. They don't know what kind of fragrances you actually like. They don't know you personally, yet you are telling them, tell me how to spend my money. So just a little bit of advice, take it for what you will. Only you can determine if something is worth it. So that segues into today's topic. I'm gonna feature a couple of fragrances here that I paid full retail for. I'm gonna talk about why I paid full retail for them and if I think they're worth it. And also there is one where I made a bit of a purchasing mistake. Let's talk about it. All right, so let's go ahead and get it started. I've got 5 fragrances here. The first one is from the house of Bond number 9. This is Nomad. Bond number 9's Nomad. This is a fruity, rose and oud fragrance. Mostly fruity, mostly rosy. There is oud in here. Well, I don't know if it's real oud or not, but there is like oud woodiness to it, but it's primarily fruity and rose. It's also quite sweet as well. Does lean a little bit more feminine, but men can certainly wear it. So why did I buy this for full retail? Well, first and foremost, I got this from a Bloomingdale's, if I'm not mistaken, and they were having a deal where if you spent X amount of dollars, you would actually get some cash back that you could spend on something else in the store, no matter what it was. So at the time I purchased this is not a fragrance that was on discounters. As far as I know, it's still not on discounters. So I said, I actually really like this one. You know, with Bond number 9, their prices are very, very high. A lot of their fragrances, in my opinion, are not worth me buying at full retail, but this is one of the ones I actually think is done really well. So I said, hey, I don't mind getting this one. And it gave me quite a bit of cash back that I could use on another fragrance that I really also wanted, but also was not available on discounters. So that to me is always a validating reason as to why I might buy something at full retail, is because it'll give me basically a discount on something else or a way to purchase another fragrance that is not available on discounters or at a discounted rate. Again though, that has to be a decision you want to make. This fragrance was over $400. I'm not saying everybody should do that. Do what you think is best and do what you can afford. So yeah, that was Bond number 9's Nomad. This one I did pay full retail for, and I have no regrets. Okay, so the next one's coming from the house of the Harmonist. This is Hypnotizing Fire. The Harmonist, Hypnotizing Fire. So this fragrance here is, to me, primarily fresh spicy. There's a little bit of warm spice in it as well. There's woodiness to it. There's a little bit of smokiness, and there's some sweetness as well. I've always said this fragrance paints a picture in my mind of watching like a campfire from start to finish. This is another one that is quite expensive at full retail, but as best as I can tell, this house is not available on discounters. I think here in the States, as of right now, it is exclusively being sold at Neiman Marcus, so that's the only place you can get it. So why did I pay for it? Well, number one, the fragrance is awesome. Matter of fact, the entire house is awesome. I'm not saying you should just get everything from the house. I've actually got quite a number of offerings. All of them are not even available like at the store. You would have to maybe get a sample of it. They all kind of have a centralized theme to it. As far as I know, they're all done by the same perfumer, so sometimes you'll see a little bit of crosstalk between fragrances done by the same perfumer. The reason I chose to pick it up was I went to an event for the house where they were featuring a number of their fragrances. And naturally, when you go to events like that, if you buy something, you'll get some gifts with it. Now, the gifts I got weren't that great, but you know, I actually wanted to really pick up this fragrance because if I was gonna pick up one from the house, it was definitely gonna be this one first. And I also got some extra stuff with it for free. So if that's something you're interested in, that's another reason where you can maybe validate getting something at full retail. You'll get some extra stuff on the side. Matter of fact, a lot of times you always will get samples of something on the side or even get to choose some if you buy a fragrance at full retail. But yeah, paid full retail for this one. Yes, it was not cheap, but I am not complaining. I think it was worth it. The Harmonist, Hypnotizing Fire. Next one's coming from the house of Louis Vuitton. This is Pacific Chill. Louis Vuitton's Pacific Chill. So if you know anything about Louis Vuitton houses, same central theme. They're not available on discounters. Oh man, I really like this one. This one is beautiful citrus up top, but primarily supported with a lot of fruits, a lot of kind of fresh, juicy, but not overly sweet, somewhat tropical themed fruits. I will say I do tend to see a lot of Louis Vuitton fragrances for sale or for swap in like the swap and sales groups on Facebook. I don't have a problem with buying anything from those, but obviously you have to worry about potentially being scammed with those, so you have to buy at your own risk and kind of do your due diligence, and even with that, it's not a guarantee. But if you buy it directly from the Louis Vuitton store, you know you're getting a Louis Vuitton fragrance, so just keep that in mind. I grabbed this fragrance because I walked into the store pretty much with the intent of buying something. I was checking out a few fragrances and just was gonna decide which one I wanted to pick up. Landed on this one. I don't know about you, but most of the time when I go into a retail store that has fragrances, most of the time I'm going to just check out stuff, try to smell something that's new, and get an idea of and see if it's something I want to check out or buy later on. But on this particular day, I went in with the intent to make a purchase. And I walked out with this here, Pacific Chill from Louis Vuitton. Okay, so the next one's coming from the house of Fragcomm. This is 1270. Fragcomm. 1270. So this fragrance here features a lot of dried fruits. It is smooth and sweet. Has a little bit of a boozy touch to it, even though there aren't any boozy accords listed. Also has an interesting accord of white honey in the base of the fragrance, and you do kind of get this like lightly flavored honey smell to this. Now this is the fragrance where I made a mistake when I purchased it. So let me give you the quick story. I went into my local niche perfumery, was going to make a purchase, so I had my eye on something else, but I was checking out just some other things I had already smelled to make sure maybe I didn't want those instead. I ended up on this one again. I had smelled it before and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and take 1270 today. Now here was my first mistake. I just kind of decided to grab it without double checking to see, can I get this for a reasonable discount on discounters? And the answer was yes. I could have got it a lot cheaper on a discounter at that time. Matter of fact, more than one, so I even had options. Now here's a second mistake I made, and this situation is a little bit unique. Now this was around the time when a lot of fragrance houses were raising their prices. So when I bought this and the guy rung me up, I noticed the price was higher than I thought it was, but I figured, hey, they've probably raised their prices too, so no biggie. Now the fact of the matter is they did raise their prices, but the sad part was a lot of other retailers, full price retailers, had not raised that price yet. So even if I wanted to pay for this at full retail, I could have got it at the old lower price. So this was a lose-lose for me, and let me just tell you, I'm not mad that I got the fragrance. I do love the fragrance. I think it's excellent, but that was definitely a situation where I did not do my due diligence, and let's just say, all right, I'm not gonna make that mistake again. And I was kicking myself a little bit, but hey, you make a mistake when you're buying something. Don't get stressed out, don't get, bent out of shape, just learn from it and don't make the mistake anymore. So it's easy to say that this was probably the worst purchasing decision I made simply because I just didn't do my homework. But it's all good, I got a fragrance I love out of it. This is Fragcomm 1270. All right, last but not least, coming from the house of Wilhelm Parfumerie, this is London Funk. Wilhelm Parfumerie's London Funk. Now there's no super interesting story with this one. This is another situation where I walked into my local niche perfumery with the intent to buy something. It was particularly, I was going to buy a Wilhelm fragrance. I wanted my first Wilhelm fragrance. This is a very green, somewhat aromatic, very woody fragrance. You have to like green fragrances for you to like this one. Does not skimp at all on the green style of perfumery. Has a slight cannabis vibe to it. I personally wouldn't really call it a cannabis fragrance, but many people would. So like I said earlier, I went in with the intent to make a purchase. This fragrance in particular was not available on discounters. As far as I know, it still is not. And I actually saw something saying that this fragrance, along with To My Father, is going to be discontinued, which means I need to try to get my hands on To My Father because I really like that one as well. I just chose to go with this one first. But yeah, I guess the moral of the story with this one is if you're going into a place where you know you're gonna have to pay full retail for something, just kind of have your mind made up already and also know what your budget is. I know sometimes when you go into a store where you know you're gonna be paying full retail for something, it can be very tempting to actually go over your budget because you're like, hey, screw it, I'm gonna be spending a lot of money on one fragrance anyway. Try not to go over your budget. It is never worth going into some kind of debt or being in trouble paying another more important bill or purchase for buying a fragrance. It's not that serious. So once again, this was Wilhelm Parfumerie's London Funk. Alright guys, that's it. Something just a little bit different for today. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like the content, and hit that bell and icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Remember to be well and smell well, and I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.